everybody, and welcome to a Super Bowl special of Touchdown in the UK. It is an exciting and joyous occasion, but one that is, however, tinged with a bit of sadness as our season is unfortunately finally coming to an end, and next season looks a long way away. But we've got an absolute treat for you today, listeners, one that I think you're going to really enjoy. It's been 2 weeks since we last spoke. We've got a fantastic weekend of championship games to talk about first, where the Chiefs bulldozed the Bills and the Bucks were able to cause a bit of an upset, shutting out the Packers and taking the win, taking Tom Brady to yet another Super Bowl. So then, I know that you two are both incredibly excited about what we've got to come. But before we do that, we need to talk about these championship games, fellas. So, Nicko, I'm going to come to you first. Firstly, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm good. It's been an extra week off for us for this, but it's nice to be back.
I'd like to think you've been spent that extra week prepping ahead of the Super Bowl, Nicko. But before we get on to that, talk us through the Bucks and Packers game. How did you see that play out? Any thoughts in particular on Rodgers' performance and obviously Tom Brady's performance as well? Another Super Bowl for him.
As you said, Bucks beat the Packers 31-26 to advance to that Super Bowl and become the first team to make the Super Bowl in their own stadium. And it wasn't all plain sailing for the Bucks and Brady. He threw 3 interceptions in 7 attempts, I think it was. And a stat that I found out after the game was actually he's now 3-1 in games. He's thrown 3 interceptions in the playoffs. So it actually works out better for him when he throws more interceptions by the looks of it.
Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, that is a stat there. I've got to say, it's a bit of a weird one. I can't imagine you'll get many other quarterbacks with a stat like that. But there you go.
Yeah, and the Bucks defense stepped up as well, to be fair, to obviously hold those extra plays the Packers forced. They only allowed 6 points off those 3 interceptions. So that was pretty good from their part. They themselves forced 1 interception from Rodgers. And managed to get to him 5 times for 5 sacks, which took them to 9 through 2 games in the season.
And I think Tom Brady himself mentioned that win was the defense played a massive role in that win, and I think that was really clear for everyone watching it. I really did think the Packers were going to come back into it, but it just never came. And fair play to the Bucks and fair play to Brady, another Super Bowl for him. Before we obviously talk about his chances, Cliff, bit of a different game, the Chiefs-Bills, and certainly not as close as the Bucks-Packers. How did you see that play out?
Obviously, on my take a punt, I did predict the Bills to have a low-scoring game, which I'll mention in a second. But Kansas City just looked too good to me. I mean, first quarter, Bills got a field goal, and I think it was just both stopping each other. And then I think we all saw the muff punt by Hardman, and it set the Bills up on the 3-yard line, which gave the Bills a 9-0 lead, which at the time I felt like, did they deserve it? Not really. I felt like it was just a close game, both stopping each other. What I liked at that point, though, was when you see Mahomes go over to Hardman on the side, tell him to keep his chin up. And then who scores the first touchdown for the Chiefs? Hardman, to get them back into the game. And then I think since then, once that happened, the wheels were in motion and the Chiefs just took over. Williams and Edwards-Helaire added touchdowns to make it 21-9. And then the next play I wanted to discuss was the field goal just before halftime. 21-9 down, 4th and goal from the 3-yard line, I think it was. Super Bowl on the line. Do you gamble or do you go for a field goal? For me, I'm sure there's stats that back up going for a field goal, but for me, I don't think you beat the Chiefs going for field goals there. And I think, I don't know, is it one that hindsight gives you a better opinion of it? I don't know, but for me, I think they should have probably gambled there, because the second half, I just think the Chiefs never looked troubled. And like I said, 2 Kelsey touchdowns. I thought I was going to win take a punt, being as the Chiefs was dominating. They'd held them to 15 points at this point, but then they got a late touchdown and a field goal, which unfortunately ruined my take a punt for the week. But the Chiefs got the job done, and they're off to another Super Bowl.
Just on that, Cliff, the analytics say they should have gone for it on 4th and 2 at the Kansas City 2.
Thanks, Nicko, for that. For the analytics, I think they should have gone for it as well.
That takes us on to the big one. How do we see the Super Bowl playing out? So there's lots and lots of things, lots of variables at play here. There's been massive in-depth analysis of what different teams are going to bring to the table, who's going to be the biggest weapon in all of this. But I want to hear what you two think. Can that Bucs defense, can it hold up and keep those Chiefs at bay? How crucial will Brady's experience be? It's his 10th Super Bowl. He's been involved in 18% of all Super Bowls ever. And can the Chiefs keep up that ridiculous record that they are on at the minute, winning 25 of their last 27 games, including last year's Super Bowl? Nicko, I'm coming to you first. How do you see the Super Bowl playing out?
Two fantastic quarterbacks, two great rosters. Brady's obviously the GOAT or the boat, whichever one you want on that. He holds records all over the place in the Super Bowl. Most pass attempts, pass completions, passing yards, touchdowns in both single game and in the history of the Super Bowl. So he's got the experience to lead the Bucs through this. And in contrast, you've got the Chiefs, who obviously are a lot more recent, but are looking to win back-to-back Super Bowls the first time since Brady did it with the Patriots in 2003 and 2004. I think the Chiefs offense, Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, they're going to cause problems. Unless the Bucs can find a way to settle those three down, it's going to be a tough matchup for both. But I think I heard earlier that the Chiefs O-line is missing a few starters, having a bit of a makeshift O-line and moving a few players about. So maybe that'll mean the Bucs get to Mahomes a little bit more.
Cheers for that, Nicko. What do you reckon then, Cliff? How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic Super Bowl. I think, obviously, when they played earlier on in the season, it was a close game, 27-24 in favour of the Chiefs. I think, look, if this was the Bills v Tampa Bay, I think Brady's experience would be more of a factor. But not forgetting, the Chiefs are actually the Super Bowl champions. So, they've been there, they've done it themselves as well. So I think Brady obviously has got that impact. He has got that experience on his side. But we're looking at Mahomes, who's the current champion, who's going to think, hold on, I've been there and done it myself. I don't know. I really think it's going to be a close game. And I'm torn between my head and my heart here. And I'm talking from the Super Bowl Challenge on Sky Sports. I'm currently sitting in second place. And I know that the person in first place is going with the Chiefs. So do I go with the Bucs to try and win? Or do I go with who I think will actually win, which is the Chiefs? And I'm a bit torn. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs will get it done, but I think it'll be close. And I would not be surprised with the Tampa Bay win just because of Brady.
Nice one. So you've heard it there, listeners, from our in-house touchdown in the UK experts. I think everyone is excited to see how it plays out. You'll see from the betting, we've gone for a few different bets later on in our Take a Punt feature. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be a great game and one we're all looking forward to. I know this is a Super Bowl special, listeners, but I wanted to just take us away from the Super Bowl a little bit because there has been a bit of activity in the off-season for some of the teams that aren't involved in the Super Bowl. One trade that appeared in the early hours of Sunday morning UK time and on Saturday in the US was a very interesting trade that's got lots and lots of NFL fans talking, and particularly got me very interested in how it's going to play out next season. And that is the Matt Stafford trade between the Rams and the Lions. So interestingly, the Rams clearly do not rate first round picks. They will go a full 8 years without first round picks from 2016 to 2024. And they made the decision to trade Jared Goff with Matt Stafford to the Lions for a 2022, 2023 first round pick and a 2021 third round pick. So, lads, I want to get your views on this. Who do you think's got the best out of the deal? And how do you see the season next season for the Rams playing out? Nicko first.
They're not going to have a first round pick for 8 years. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing if the organisation fully thinks they can win now and win in the next season or two. Because a first round pick to them, if they're doing well and they're in that playoff zone but can't get to the Super Bowl and they're not good enough to get a high first round pick, they're going to be picking players that aren't going to be adding too much superstar value to their roster. They're not going to be getting a future franchise quarterback likely in those 20 to 30 spots in the draft. So I think the Rams have actually done a decent trade. And I said last week, last episode, I couldn't see Goff not being a Ram come next season because of his cap impact. But I didn't see the Rams offering 2 first-round picks to go with Jared Goff and be traded away. So I do think it's a good deal for both. Rams, like you said, they're in win now mode. They've got 2-3 seasons with Ramsey, with Stafford, with Aaron Donald to get to the Super Bowl, to get that ring. And the Lions still, for me, won't be that competitive, but maybe it's just a change of scenery for the quarterbacks that's needed.
Cliff, your thoughts?
Yeah, I understand what Nicko's saying there. I think the fact that they've put all their eggs in the basket, I know, and they think Stafford was the one to take him with them. They've got weapons, and they've got weapons to make it to the Super Bowl. But for me, I think they're not going to do it still. I think they're still going to come up short. And the one thing I think might happen next year is they'll get that much pressure with this trade. You've given up so much for Matty Stafford that when it comes to crunch time, will they be able to handle the pressure, and will they be able to deliver on it's now or never kind of situation? I think if I was the Lions, I'd be happy with the trade. I understand that they've got a worse quarterback out the two. I understand that, but I think the picks that can improve the team, and they're looking to build. So next season, yeah, I can understand the Rams will be in a better position, but I think for the future, I think the Lions are in a better position.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting one. I think obviously we won't really know until next season about how it's playing out. There's people on both sides here in the press arguing that the Lions and the Rams have come out from it differently. Obviously, another interesting point is whether the Rams defense is going to hold up next season, having losing their defensive coordinator just a little bit down the way. But that's another factor at hand. So, yeah, interesting one I'm going to be looking forward to next season. The Rams, particularly at the start of the season when we get back to the NFL pick'ems again with the number 5 pickster in the world. Oh.
What I will say is, what I like about it, everybody I've spoken to about it is sitting on either side of the fence. There's nobody, it's not like they definitely got the better deal. Speak to different people and they think that the Lions got the better deal. They think that the Rams got the better deal, which I think that makes it more of an interesting trade.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Cliff. And that as well moves us really well onto our next feature. Now, listeners, you normally hear from our in-house experts, Cliff and Nicko, but I thought I'd give you a little bit of an insight today because we've had some changes, some updates in the past couple of weeks to my team, the beloved Eagles. A very, very disappointing season this year, going 4-11-1 record, one that people are not happy and one that led to Pedersen losing his job. Now, the Eagles have moved a little bit later than many other people did to bring in a new head coach and shake up his coaching team. So just wanted to chat about that for a few moments before we get on to our Take a Punt feature. So obviously listeners will be aware that Nick Sirianni has taken over as head coach at the Eagles, a head coach that hasn't previously had the role before. And there's lots and lots of speculation about what the Eagles are going to look like. But realistically, no one really knows. No one can really have an opinion on either side because Sirianni hasn't really done a fat lot so far. So who knows what his team's going to look like. He didn't give much away at his press conference. It was an interesting press conference, to say the least. He didn't mention biting kneecaps like Dan Campbell at the Lions, but it wasn't much better, let's put it that way. But importantly, he didn't give anything away in terms of Wentz and Hurts. So there's still lots of speculation out there about what's going to be happening next season and who the Eagles' starting quarterback is going to be. But he didn't really give a fat lot away about that. He has brought in some new team members to his coaching team. So he's brought in people who he knows, really. So he's brought in the new offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen from the Chargers. He's brought a new defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon from the Colts. And he's brought in a new specials teams coach from the 49ers in Michael Clay. Obviously retaining a couple of the coaches who are already there at the Eagles in Jeff Stoutland and Aaron Moorhead. And importantly as well, making a lot in the press, G. Staley famously leaving the Eagles now after 10-year stint there, after being overlooked twice for the head coach's job. I'm trying to make it sound like the Eagles are going to have an interesting season next year. Chances are they're probably not. Chances are it's going to be a bit of a middle-of-the-road season again, but we can live in hope. Fly, Eagles, fly. Right, moving swiftly on to our next feature.
And now, for any listeners that have managed to listen to all of that,
Look, nobody can question how much I've learnt this season, to be honest, on NFL. Who'd have thought in our first pod at the start of the season, I'll be able to give that much of an insight into the Eagles' new coaching team. But there you go, listeners.
what's your predictions for the record next year for the Eagles?
I'm going to predict that it's slightly better, and I'm going to be optimistically say it's going to be 8-8.
Oh,
Optimistic. However, I'm not going all out on that one like Nicko might be about his Chargers one. But we've got a little new feature coming up next season, listeners. We don't want to give anything away just yet. We've got one we think you'll be interested in where we can question each other's bottle. Let's put it at that and leave it there. Right, moving on to the Take a Punt feature then, Nicko.
Just before we get to Take a Punt, and before we move our focus back to the Super Bowl, we do have some breaking news. So please indulge me for one final 30 seconds. It's officially been announced in the last few hours that Justin Herbert is the Pepsi Rookie of the Year. So looking back at his phenomenal debut season, he was told he was starting minutes before kickoff in week 2 versus the Chiefs and played superbly. Then there were a few rookie mistakes in the first few games, but that was expected, and his ability showcased far outweighed that odd bad play. In total, he won 9 Rookie of the Week awards, tying Ben Roethlisberger's record, and won 7 of those in his first 10 games, and set all those rookie touchdown records that we've discussed before bolt up.
Right, listeners. So if you're listening to this on YouTube and you don't follow us on Twitter, make sure you go to our Twitter account, because there will be a poll running on there to decide what has been the most boring feature of our Super Bowl special. Has it been the rundown of the Eagles' new coaching team, which I found very interesting, or has it been Nicko's final half a minute of Herbert? Let's move swiftly on to our Take a Punt feature. As we said before, if you back these punts throughout the season, you would be in profit right now. So, Nicko, what are we saying? What are our best bets ahead of the Super Bowl? We've mixed it up a little bit this week.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of picks each. Theo, you've picked Kansas City Chiefs -10 at 27-10. And you also had each team to score a touchdown or more and score a field goal or more in each half, which was 13-2. Cliff, you only fancied the Chiefs at -5, which was 11-8. But you did go with a requested bet of Kelsey to score 1 or more anytime touchdown, Mahomes over 299 passing yards, and Tyreek Hill and Chris Godwin over 99 receiving yards each, which was 11-1. Now for mine, I went a little bit away from that. I knew yours would be Chiefs heavy. So I've had Bucks -3.5, Fournette 1 or more touchdowns, and Godwin 64 or more receiving yards, and that's 8-1. I also had a few first touchdown bets. So first touchdown type, I've backed a defensive or special teams score at 14-1. And then I also fancied first scoring play, Tampa Bay field goal at 4-1. Now the Chiefs, we all know they like to come back into games when they fall behind. I think they've fallen behind in 11 of 17 competitive games this season. If you take out the Chargers win in week 17. And also if they win the coin toss, they normally defer. So the Bucks should be starting with their offense on the field with Brady and the ball in his hand. So I fancy them to get down the field. And if they're not going to get a field goal, why not actually take a punt on a team with the most punts of the Bucks? And that's evens for the Bucks to make the most punts.
I think that's a good bet, that last one. It's one, I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of bets available at the minute on this game, and I couldn't dedicate my time earlier to be going through them all, but I think that is a really good one. I'm a bit gutted I missed that one, to be honest.
Tell you what's a good one. I'm going to be honest. I've just seen it. What's a good one? Travis Kelce 1 touchdown. Patrick Mahomes 299 passing yards. Hill and Godwin 99 receiving yards each. I just wanted to repeat it just for the listeners because that's a great bet there.
Well, you can make your mind up, listeners, on that one. Remember to gamble responsibly. That takes us on to our listeners' questions. And there's a bit of a different feature we've got for you here, just to spice it up in our Super Bowl special. But we have got one question first that I want to ask. I want to get your opinion on this because we all had different opinions when asked about it earlier. So if there is to be a non-quarterback MVP this season, who do you think is most likely to get it? Cliff, I'm going to come to you first this time.
Is this Super Bowl MVP?
Super Bowl MVP, sorry. Yeah.
Super Bowl MVP. I'm going to go with Kelsey. I know it sounds obvious. I know most people probably predicted me, but I just think he's brilliant, and I'm going to go with Kelsey.
Nicko?
Again, like the take a punt, I expect that both of you are going to be going Chiefs heavy. So I've gone for Bucks player, and I've gone for Leonard Fournette, who in recent weeks has seen an increase in both rushing attempts and targets and receptions. So why not have him to get the MVP? And I think it was about 40-1 as well. That was
Decent odds. I mean, if you're brave out there, might be worth one to take a punt. Mine's on Tyreek Hill. I think if we're going for a non-quarterback MVP, really impressed me in that championship game, and I think if you can carry that into the Super Bowl, he's got a real shout. But obviously, we know that the big boys, Mahomes and Brady, the boat and the goat, got a good chance themselves. So, what we've got for you next is an absolute treat, listeners. And we're going to do some quick fire questions. I am going to ask just some very simple 50-50 options. We're going to go to Nicko first. I want you to tell me yours, and we'll go on to Cliff. Some quick fire questions, 50-50 chance. I don't want you to think about it. I want you to come, whatever comes first to your mind, blurt it out, and we'll laugh about it after. Are you ready, fellas?
go on then.
Ready?
Right then. First one, nice and easy. Mahomes or Brady?
Mahomes,
Brady.
Wings or ribs?
ribs,
Wings.
AFC or NFC?
AFC,
AFC.
McDonald's or KFC?
McDonald's,
McDonald's.
Kelsey or Gronk?
Kelsey,
Kelsey.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke,
Pepsi.
Salsa or mayo?
Mayo,
Mayo.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike,
Adidas.
Twitter or Insta?
Twitter,
Twitter.
Bucks or Chiefs?
Chiefs,
Books.
I mean, that was pretty fun. I enjoyed doing it. I think you two did as well. I mean, it shows how when you put on the spot, you just blurt out whatever comes to your mind, because you seem to change allegiance between the Chiefs and the Bucks throughout there, fellas. So there you go. Shows how tight it's going to be on Sunday anyway. Right, to wrap things up then, a wild card question. Remember, we go a little bit outside football, but seeing as it's a Super Bowl, it needs to be Super Bowl related this week. We've got The Weeknd performing during the halftime show of the Super Bowl, who's promised to make it a spectacular for everyone. But I want to say to you two now, who would be your dream Super Bowl halftime show artist? You can pick one that has gone before if you like, but have a think about it and who you're going for. Cliff, I'm coming to you first then. Who's your dream Super Bowl halftime artist?
To be honest, I've had a few recently that I've wanted to do it and then they've ended up doing it. So Justin Timberlake, I still watch that one on YouTube to this day. Love that one with his Prince tribute. And everyone who knows me knows I love a good Bruno Mars concert. And he's done the Super Bowl as well, so I'm happy with that. When asked this one though, the first person that came to my head was the boss, Bruce Springsteen. Now I know he's done it. I know he's done it before, but I just think to get a crowd going, I'd pick the boss.
I'm a big fan of the boss, I've got to say as well. I wish I was into NFL back in 2009 when he had the Super Bowl halftime show. But there you go. I think he's still got it nowadays. Now, I mean, he's about 86 now, I think, anyway. So I think he's still got it. I believe he has anyway. Nicko, over to you then. Thoughts?
Unlike Cliff, just picked three people who've actually already done it. I've gone for some that actually haven't. Being American himself and actually probably one of the greatest in his genre, Eminem would be a good one that hasn't done it. One that not that I'm saying I'd want these, but someone who I think would have if they get back together. Surely One Direction at some point are going to be asked to do it just because of how big they are. And
Listen, you can't see this right now, but Cliff's face of absolute shock and awe at Nicko there is incredible. Go on, Nicko, defend yourself.
no, I'm not saying that I want to watch it. I just think
We know you're best when you're backed into a corner. You fight for one, Nicko.
they pick big bands and artists. Beyonce, Katy Perry. I'm forgetting who else has done it now because there's that many.
Bruno Mars.
Bruno
Bruce
Mars, yeah.
Springsteen.
Exactly. So they picked the biggest name going, and they were one of the biggest names around. So if they got back together, why wouldn't they look at getting them? Who knows?
Guys, anyone that knows me knows that I'm a big 1D fan. But Super Bowl halftime entertainment, One Direction, come on. Come on. And if we're talking big boy bands, we've got to mention Backstreet Boys are bigger than One Direction. So, and they're still together.
And if you've been watching UK TV recently, the Badger from The Masked Singer, he could probably get a good crowd going.
Theo, as it's a Super Bowl special, and I think I already know your answer, but who would you have for the entertainment at halftime?
Oh, it's a tough one. I did actually think about this earlier. I'm interested to know what you think I'd have as my answer there.
There's only one person I think you'd have.
I mean,
Sir Elton John.
I knew you were going to say that, and I've got to say he does put on a show. Like you said, I don't know whether he appeals to NFL fans like 1D, but I do know for sure that Elton John puts on a show, and he put on an absolutely belting Super Bowl show. So, Cliff, you were spot on there, my friend. Right, what an absolute treat we've had for you today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed our Super Bowl special. We're going to come back next week with an end of season roundup for you, giving you a bit of a review of the Super Bowl this weekend and some awards for next season. So please tune into our final one of the 2020-21 season next week. We hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. We hope you enjoy whatever feast and party, if you can, COVID permitting, got planned. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. Stay safe, listeners. Thank you very much.